You know, there's lots of times in the scriptures where Jesus shared a meal with his disciples. The one we remember the most is the one that we remember during communion. And as Jesus shared with them in that Passover meal, it was sharing the bread and sharing the cup that Jesus said, "This is my body broken for you, and this is my blood which is shed for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And because of those words, "do this in remembrance of me," that has become for us a way in which we experience the grace of God in Jesus Christ. We call that a sacrament. And it's a sacrament in our church. And it's when the community of faith gathers together and we share a loaf of bread together. We share bread. We share in the cup together. And we're separated right now, and we really can't do it in that way. But there is a way we can remember how Jesus gathered with his disciples and his followers and those who were learning about him in a meal. In the scriptures, we have words of Jesus or experiences of Jesus. He went to the home of Lazarus, and Mary and Martha, we have an encounter with them, and Martha's in the kitchen cooking and Mary's at his feet learning. And Martha says to Jesus, "You know, why don't you tell her to get up and come to the kitchen with me?" And Jesus shares that Mary has chosen a better path. And so we know that he shared that meal with him. We know that when Zacchaeus climbed up the tree, Zacchaeus was a tax collector. When he climbed up that tree to get a better look at Jesus, Jesus said, "Hey, I'm coming to your house today." And it was over a meal that Zacchaeus shares with him these changes that are going on in his life. We know the very first miracle of Jesus recorded in the Gospel of John is when he gathered for a wedding feast. And the wine ran out, and his mother asked him to make it better for the bride and groom. And so he turns water into wine. After Jesus after Jesus was resurrected, his disciples went to the Sea of Galilee and went back to fishing for a little bit. And Jesus meets them on the shore and prepares for them a breakfast. He made some fish for them over an open fire. That wouldn't be my idea of a breakfast, but by golly, if Jesus made it, I would be all excited about it. And they shared in that meal. So there's become a tradition through the church, and some of you may have not ever heard of it before, and it's through some traditions and not others. It's called the Love Feast, and it's a time of remembering those moments when the disciples and believers and those learning about what it means to be a follower would gather together for a meal and remember and recall what God through Jesus was doing in their life. And so as campers, we are going to have a time of a love feast. And there's going to be, I'm going to lead us in that time, and I'm going to lead us through, and you'll get information how to connect to the love feast. But there's some things I need you to do as you prepare for that. I want you to have a space where you can be, of course, if we're going to be Zooming together. But have something that you can share together so that we can all be sharing kind of in a meal, whether it's a meal or whether it's a snack. This is not going to be the sacrament of communion, so I'm not talking about bread and juice, but just a way in which that we can share a meal together, kind of, on Zoom, and then have these times of remembering what God through Jesus Christ is doing in our life. And so that's sort of how we're going to do this love feast. And when we get started, I'll give you some more background information on that and different places and how they've done it. And I actually have an order of service that I follow for a love feast that I'll be moving us through. So I invite you to get the information on how we can be connected for this time together, to get some items together so we can be sharing kind of in a meal together as we are having this time, and to be ready to hear and experience and to share together the amazing things that God is doing in our life. God bless.